Hello, welcome back to Manifest Her. Today we are talking about aligning with our businesses, how we get ourselves through the difficult times when we do have hard times, how we pull ourselves out of that, and holding our boundaries within our friendships. So that's what we'll be talking about today. We're super excited. How's your week?
Okay. Ooh, long, very, very long
Yeah.
week. It was challenging. Nothing actually happened. Like, it wasn't challenging in that way. Like, I went through anything, but mentally, we're going through the workshop, obviously. And I think, in retrospect, because when I was in the moods, I was trying to figure out why and what happened. And I think it kind of came up during the workshop. And I think the moment when, to the best of what I've pondered so far, was the visualization about you and future you, like the three
Oh,
future yous.
did you like
That
that?
actually was a bad trigger for me.
Really? Okay, tell me about it.
No, no. Well, I didn't really connect, and that's why.
Mm,
I had a hard time connecting with future me and really getting the message. And the message that I think I got, the messages that I think I got sounded more like now, which then started making me question it. Like, is it now me or future me? Right. So I started kind of overriding it and going into that. And then the message that didn't sound like now, I didn't really understand it. And so I just felt some type of way when I was done. And I didn't really know, and subconsciously, and it kind of set in. And then the rest of my days were just kind of lower energy, lower vibration. Some
mm,
negative thoughts started coming up, negative thinking, like, you know what, give up. No, to hell with it all. Like, started coming up.
yeah.
That's what kind of comes up for me. I know in my human design, it's like bitterness and things like that too. And so just some things were coming up for a few days where I didn't feel good and I didn't know.
Mm.
I felt really kind of lost. And I'm like, what am I even going to do? How am I going to create this 2024, right? That I want to create and all the beauty and all the things and my power. And suddenly I'm questioning everything. So we'll talk more about that
Yeah.
because I feel great today. But for a
Good.
moment,
I so for those that don't know what we're talking about with this program that me and Nikki are doing right now to like start the new year, it asked us. So she did a visualization, and in the visualization, you envisioned yourself in 2 years, and then yourself in five, and then 10, and then 20, maybe.
yep.
I don't. And yeah, so we like literally just closed our eyes, and like the visually, it was beautiful, and it really made you think about those years and stuff. I had a completely different experience with it. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it was like so eye opening because it made it so clear exactly what I want in my future.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I can't just magically one day become that person. I have
Mm-hmm.
to be that person now as much as I can be. And it was like I had this like beautiful home. It was like Melanie's house is like my dream. It's so gorgeous. The way that it's decorated, the way that like she has one of her houses in the middle of a forest with like a river passing by, and like so it was like that type of vibe, like this beautiful house, it's beautifully decorated. I'm dressed all beautifully. Basically, Melanie is like my muse. I want to be just like her. Like in 20 years, that's I want that. Um, and so I was like, I can't do everything because you have to have the money to live the way that I want to live. But
Mm-hmm.
I can make small changes. Like right now, since I work from home, I don't get ready every day. I am just like a mess. If I have meetings, I'll like maybe pull my hair up, maybe put on mascara, but it's on camera anyway. It doesn't really matter. So I am not getting myself ready every day, which it doesn't bug me. I'm comfortable. I'm home. But if I want to be that person, I have to be someone who gets up early instead of laying in bed in the morning, and I get myself ready and I go to the gym, and like so I have to live like that. So I have completely changed how I'm going to schedule my work day. I'm going to work a little bit later so that when I take my kids to school, I can go to the gym on my way home and then come home, shower, and get ready and then work. So I'm like readjusting everything because that's how someone who would live in the future version of me that I want would live. And if I start living like that, then I'm going to make it happen. So it really was eye opening to me of like, because the way that it made me feel thinking about like in just 2 years, this is going to be me. And in just 5 years, this is going to be me. And it made me like so excited. So
Yes.
what do you think about it was triggering for you? Why do you think that that happened?
Well, no messages came through. Like,
Oh.
my alignment, right? Like I don't just picture, you know what I mean? I don't have that same alignment with Melanie like you do. She's not like my muse and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like me up to me and to figure out which is a past wound, you know, that's surfacing, which as I did my meditation and my things and talked to Jensen and used all my tools, you know, I had to come to realize that, you know, these are not
Mm-hmm.
realities, these are not truths, these are lies, they're past memories that need to be healed. And so I really just had to dig deep, and it worked. That's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm on the journey, right? To learn to
Mm-hmm.
use my tools. Everything's not going to be crystal clear. Everything's not going to be instant answer, but you know, I was looking because she's like, hold your hand, right? And so forth, and get that message from you. And I was
Mm-hmm.
looking for very direct messages from me. And like I said, they didn't really come through, at least not the way I thought they would come through, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a trigger. That was hard for me right now. And
I could
then
see that.
obviously I'm on this fasting as well in the diet. And so that was a little rough. And the
Yeah.
weather's been really cold here. Usually it's warm, it's up and down,
Mm.
but we've been having just like these freezing, it got down to like 28 degrees down
Oh,
here, which is
that's cold for
really
there.
insanely cold.
It's
Yeah.
been really cold
And
here
with the
too. The snow's been really
humidity,
bad. Yeah.
yeah. And so that was kind of like putting me in a mood, you know, and I just wasn't really motivated. But what was good is that through those times, like I said, I have the tools. And so two big things stood out. One is that I didn't stay in a low vibration for very long.
Yeah.
Two is that when I needed to be in a low vibration, I allowed that, right? I didn't say, oh, no, push, you gotta be hot, you know what I mean? You gotta do these things, you gotta produce and do all the things. I said, you know what? I'm gonna give the space and let myself know it's okay and have, you know, and Jensen was a big part of that too. Like, babe, everything's still so new. Like it's all new. You're barely 6 months out of the workforce into full entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and things like that. And so it's just relying on those tools. And I feel amazing. But when I was in it, it's tough. But
Yeah.
that's also life. And that's what I'm learning, right? I can't be peaches and cream every doggone day,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I wake up, like, it's just not how it's going to be, especially as an empath when I do take on others' energies and when I do have past wounds that I am still healing and past traumas. So that's bound to surface. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
really trying to forge something great. And I want it so much. But one of my messages from future me was do less.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the one I didn't fully understand, but it's starting to become more clear, you know, as I
What do you
sit
get
with
from
it.
that?
But I try because I just said, right, I want it so much, right? I want these
Yeah.
things so much. And so you got to just relax. The times when I was in a really high vibration and I was naturally creating things, for instance, like the fitness and my teaching eras when I was an instructor, is like really natural. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
something I was forcing. I was trying to create or had this prevision or, you know, anything like that. It was something that really had to generate from within that was for me, you know, which Jensen will say to me a lot, like, do something that's for you, and then that's going to resonate out to the rest. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where it was. Times where I was in that, I was really kind of doing something more for myself, and it grows like wildfire. Whereas right now, I'm like, gotta do, and I'm kind of a
Mm-hmm.
lot more, you know, in a different type of frequency with it. So that's what's starting to come through. Obviously, I gotta sit with the message throughout the year and the years, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when I first heard that, I think it was 5 year or 10 year me, you know, I was like, I don't know.
I think
You know?
so. I have multiple thoughts about what you said. First of all, I think that I can understand why it would be harder for you to do that because you already are living a lot of what people dream about. And a lot of like my dreams, like right now, I'm living in my brother's basement so that I can try to save money to get a house. And I need to like get my kids like to grown and out of the house still, and I want to manifest the relationship that's perfect for me. And you have a beautiful relationship, you have kids, you have grandkids, you have um like you get to go to New Orleans in the winter when it's cold and then come back. Like you're living a beautiful life already. So a lot of the things that I envision, which is like the grandkids and all of that kind of stuff, you're already living that. So when you try to think about your future, I don't know this because I wasn't in your thoughts, but I'm sure it was mostly thinking where you want your business to be, because that's where most of your focus is. And so that's scary because you don't even know 100% what you're going to do with your business. You don't know where you're going with all of that. And so when that's where you put your emphasis, because in my vision of my future, I didn't think about my business one time. It was my life. But the thing is that my
Mm-hmm.
business is what can lead to that life. So now
Mm-hmm.
in my non visualization brain, I've got to figure out how to make my business align with my vision of what I want my life to look like. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very different experience for me and you. And if I had been just thinking about my business, it would have stressed me out because I don't know. I question if I'm doing the right thing every day. I just am doing what feels aligned, and then I know that as long as I keep doing that, I'll end up in the right place. And so I think that's probably the difference between why our experiences were so different. And then when it comes to do less, I think that like everything does need to be aligned. It does need to come naturally, but there's also a lot of things that don't come naturally that you have to push yourself through. Like editing is not natural to me. I have to learn how and I have to do it. It's getting more natural. Eventually it'll be easy. And posting on social media is draining. I don't want to do it, but I know I have to, otherwise nobody's going to see anything. And like how am I going to ever be successful if I'm not putting myself out there, you know? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
like do things, but there's also like versions of you that come up with something new all the time. And you like, so I think doing less that way and like focusing on what feels natural and nice and easy, but doing the hard things you don't want to do because you know that's how you become successful,
Mm-hmm.
but not like being all over the place, not feeling like you have to do everything all at once. Like
Mm-hmm.
this week, I really stepped back in like posting as much and stuff because I only am doing it when I'm like, oh, I have a minute, I'm going to do this, rather than, oh, I have to do this, but I'm doing this and this and this, and I've got to make time for this. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm letting it flow naturally. So, but I'm still getting like so much done. So I think there's just like a balance of like you have to know when, okay, what, yeah, you have to do this so that you can get through this and be successful, but you can focus on one thing at a time and just let
Mm-hmm.
that thing become natural and then evolve and then grow into something different, and it just gets better and better.
Love it. Yeah, what really resonated with me about what you said that was kind of like light bulb, right? Is I am in a totally different place than a lot of people, right? I don't have to work right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that has been a struggle for me, which I kind of thought it might have been prior to leaving my career, because Jensen left his career first and went into a new career where he gets to make his own schedule. And he was we're similar in a lot of ways as a projector and a manifester. And so he was kind of struggling with that, like, lack of schedule thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what I'm noticing I fell into. I've noticed it before, but now I have more of a clear path forward of to what to do about it. But the lack of schedule, I think Melanie even talked about it in one of her things where, or no, it was Morgan. It was actually when I was in my human design. And she's like, you really, in your position right now, it's like good because there's no schedule, right? But that's
Mm-hmm.
part of your brain, right? That's kind of telling you one thing in one archetype where you got to listen more to your body and your soul and the medicine woman,
Yeah.
that you are, and like work within that. And so I think that's part of the thing is my days kind of go by. I don't, I guess in a lot of people's things I could be living the life, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a set schedule, and that's been more of a struggle for me. Like, geez, when you don't have to do anything, it's kind of hard to make yourself do something, especially as a projector, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So that's why I didn't understand do less. But in the context of what you said, it makes sense. And I think too, as I was listening to you, it kind of came to me maybe do less is more that feminine, like aligning,
Mm-hmm.
energetically, but the masculine, right? Because I even talked
Yeah.
about that last week where the doing is my struggle personally as a
Mm-hmm.
projector. And so, yeah, I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah. And it used to be really hard for me too to do the things that I said I was going to do. But, and we've talked about this before, I really changed so that anything that I say I'm going to do, I do. Even when it sucks, even when I don't want to do it, because then you get used to it. And that becomes who you are. You do what you say you're going to do. And you have to
Yes.
like, you have to treat it like a job, right? Like if you made it, like you set your schedule and maybe your schedule changes each day, but you know what your schedule is, and you have like one day for a goddess day, one day for, like Melanie does a CEO day where one day a week she is the CEO. She plans, she schedules, she does like writes down everything she's going to do through that week, plans it all
Mm-hmm.
out, and then she does it on all of those days. And then she goes back within, checks with herself the next week. So maybe that's what, like, you need to have like certain days, like you need to get a planner and write out, on this day I'm going to do my CEO day, and on that day every week you're going to plan the rest of your week, what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and then you do those things and you make it like that's your job. If it's your job and how you're getting paid, like, yeah, we're not getting paid yet, but that's the only way you're going to end up getting paid, is by working like it's your job and making a schedule for yourself. Because if I just
Mm-hmm.
think to myself like I'll figure out what I'm going to do later, then I end up just sitting there and not doing anything. And then I'm like, shoot, this day went by and I relaxed and I did great things, but I didn't do what I wanted to do. So now I'll do it tomorrow. And you like keep pushing things off. But,
Mm-hmm.
and if you did like one day where you planned like a CEO day and one day where you just like do, like, I don't know what kind of things you're doing in your business right now, but like if you have to post, if you have to do anything, like do all of that in one day so you get it out of the way and spend 4 or 5 hours, whatever it is, on that in the day. Because for as projectors, we're only supposed to work like 4 hours a day. Like we
Mm-hmm.
really focus for, but like long 8 hour days, that's not for us. And we can get a
Mm-hmm.
lot more
Mm-hmm.
done in a short amount of time than most people.
Mm-hmm.
So I use that a lot in myself, because even in my job as a data analyst, I can, if I focus on something and I get through it way faster than most people. So even though, and so I'll like take time to myself to have more breaks and stuff because I know that's what I need. And I'm still completing all of my jobs, everything I have to do in the amount of time that I need to have them done, because I'm working as my design expects me to work. So even if you only
Mm-hmm.
plan like 4 hours a day, you don't have to plan a whole 8 hour day like that's your schedule. Plan 4 hours, but for those 4 hours, work hard and do everything. And don't make it so that like every day is planning or every day is goddess, because you have to balance those. So if you have a set day for whatever's important to you, whatever you need to do, and then you do those things, it'll become easier. But you have to make yourself at first until you get used to it.
Love it. Yeah, it's been a real, it's hard to transition and it's hard to push yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I
It
am on
is.
this fast and things like that. And so it just, some days too, you're just grumpy and not in the mood. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh. But clarity is coming to me the more and the longer that I'm in it, and the more that I go back and meditate, and the more that I use my tools, which meditation is one of my biggest. For me, I almost have to meditate daily.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't meditate, there's a significant difference. And so that for me is really crucial, is staying connected. But one of those days yesterday, in fact, I tried to meditate and it was not working. I was in a really bad place, and I was crying through it and so forth. But today it's different. It's 24-hour, right? And so it's just a matter, and I worked on the rest of the day other ways to lift myself up and get back in the vibration that I wanted to be. And one of the things was going through day 7 and listening, because I stopped watching the videos. That's why I was telling you, I'm like, girl, I'm only on 7. Like, I'm having a week, and I wasn't getting through them. And so when I did get to day 7 and she's talking about the planner, I felt so much better, even just by the end of that call, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I need, going back to what we were just talking about with the scheduling and the lack of, but it's getting the two to work together. It's getting
Yeah.
the alignment and the goddess part with the doing, right? And that's just where I've been struggling. I'm too much one way
Mm-hmm.
kind of or the other. And since I love the workforce, I'm like, all goddess every day, you
Yeah.
know? I don't gotta do shit.
Yeah.
Like,
But then,
if
and
I don't
that
want
feels
to.
really good because being in goddess energy is great. You feel like a queen, but then inside, you're disappointed in yourself as you lay down at night going to bed. And that
Yeah.
ruins all of that goddess day you just had. So the more
Yes.
that you push yourself to
Yes.
do, then you go to bed feeling good about yourself and you're like, I did it today. I only did one or two things, but I
Yes.
freaking did it. It was hard for me and I got through it, and you feel good, and then the next day you want to feel good again. So you get up and you
Yes.
do it and you keep going, and it changes how you feel about yourself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that what you just said is exactly why I used to watch Melanie every night before bed, because I would end
Mm-hmm.
up losing that, and then I would go back and watch her and like feel better again. And
Yes.
sometimes I really wasn't in the mood. Someday I really was having just a bad day. And so I would just make myself watch like 15 minutes. And if I still wasn't
Mm-hmm.
feeling it, I'm not going to watch it and not be aligned with what she's saying. So I'll
Yeah.
turn it off after
Makes
like
sense.
15 minutes if I have to. But most of the time, it starts to pull me out of it and I feel better. And then I am better the next day because of it.
Yes, yes. I felt so much. And who would know on like planner day, right? Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily that she was going into the deep things that day. So it really was striking me as odd, but it's part of what I needed. It's another
Yeah.
piece. I had commented, I think, when I put my hindsight board in the group. And I'm like, I felt like I've got all the puzzle pieces. I've been feeling that. And I'm lost in how to assemble the masterpiece, right? Which is what
Mm,
kind of came back
that's
up with the
beautiful.
visualization of the future me is, how do I assemble this masterpiece that I want? But she is giving me those piece by piece, right? Move it here, connect it over here, right? You already got
Yeah.
all the things, but she's showing me like assemble it this way, look at it this way. And that the planner thing was crucial. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I can utilize this and get my days to be a lot more, and then that leads into creating the year, and that leads into, right.
Mm-hmm. My nephews are upstairs running around. I can hear those feet banging. It's driving me crazy. It's like bam, bam. It's distracting me. Um, yeah, the planner day, it really is, because I talked about a few weeks ago that I do that. Like I kind of explained it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So what she does is she will like reverse engineer the year. So you write down like what you want to do by what date. So like for example, I really want to do like a workshop or a program or something by June. So like 6 months I want to do my first one and have that done. So then you like reverse that and you say, okay, so if I want to have it posted by then and ready, then I have to plan what topic I'm going to do. I have to plan how I'm going to do it, how many days it's going to be, how much I'm going to charge for it, like all of those things. So then you write down all the little things you have to do, and then you say, okay, so to have this by this date, I have to do this by this date. And so you'll reverse it. So I'm like, okay, so by May I have to do this, by April I have to do this, by February I have to do this. And then you put down, and so then, and you do that with everything that you have to plan that's big. And so it gets you to do those little steps one at a time instead of all at once trying. Because if I say I want to do this by this day, like there's so much. So every time I look at that of like plan the workshop, whatever. There's so much that goes into it that it's overwhelming, so you don't do it. But if you just make little steps and then you see the day that you have to do that step and you do it, then it just ends up happening by that day and you're ready and it's posted and you did what you wanted to do. So it really, really helped me. The big thing for me is that when Melanie had talked about it a little bit in the programs I had been in with her, I didn't understand that like it's the big thing that you try to get to and then you do the little steps. So I was just doing the big thing and then saying like work on this, work on this, work on this. But since she explained to make it the little steps, like that's what I was missing. That's because I did have some months go by where I didn't do it. And it was because I was like, this is overwhelming. So now breaking it down into way smaller steps than I even was doing before is so helpful. I loved the planner one. It's so good.
Yeah, I loved the super small steps. Now, initially, I do want to say it wasn't resonating with me because I'm like, again, there's nothing big like that I need to plan or that's foreseeable, especially when with my business, it's been up until now, like I'm feeling a lot more clear now, but for a long time, I just haven't known what to do, what feels aligned. And she went through one of the days talking about alignment versus you just don't want to do it. right? And so I've just been kind of pondering and going through all these things internally. And I'm leaning more towards going into healing, which I knew I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do after I met with Morgan and my human design. But the problem is, I still, like, the wounds in my past replaying was doubting. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Even though like, I know I can do it. I've had some very spiritual connections, but that just creeps up the lies and the
Mm-hmm.
replays. Like, can you even do it? Maybe that's not the route. And then that's where I get unsure, and then all these other things. And then how can I plan, right, when I don't even know what business, what am I going to do, what's going to resonate? And I was really stuck in that for a minute.
Yeah.
So initially it did take me, but again, as the clarity, because the thing is that she did the planner, she showed different ways to do it too, which helped me to gain more clarity, and she's like, you could do it for what did the one lady say, prioritizing her marriage was
Mm-hmm.
one of her three things that she wants to really make happen and manifest this year. So how do you put that on a calendar? What does that even look like? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? And she went through that. And it was looking at it in that different way that really helped me to say, okay, I do have things that I really want to get done and should get done. Right. And I am especially looking at my 111 list. There are some things on there, right, that if I plan them out with intent, I can go through and actually make them happen and start
Mm-hmm.
creating. And part of that's tapping back into I'm already pretty tapped into my spiritual energies, I feel like, but I'm way stronger, right, than I've been tapped into for a while. And so, kind of doing that, learning some different aspects. I've got to go through some training with some leaders and getting that on the calendar and doing it with intent, and then celebrating it. How she was talking about, you get to celebrate it at the
Mm-hmm.
end, and like, then you get to use all that for your hindsight board. Like, all that's when it started clicking for me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't have to have this big, which now I do have a big thing. I'm going to host a
Ooh.
healing retreat
Yes.
2025. I'm going to put it 2025, right? But I have to obviously work backwards into this year to make something happen like that in 2025.
Oh, you have no idea how happy, because I was right before you started saying that. I knew what I was going to say to you, and what it was is I feel like the reason you don't have big things, the reason that you're not wanting to like do and sit in God's century is because you're not aligned with what business you're trying to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know like Gym Head is great; they have super cute stuff. It's like, but it's not you. You can't show up in your personality with that. And that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
you so incredible, is your personality and who you are. And when you show up as who you are capable of so much. And I just don't think that you feel that with Gym Head. It's not like filling you up. But and so that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that you needed to find something like that. And I knew that you did the business reading with Morgan and you wanted to change some things, but I didn't know what. But
Mm-hmm.
you saying like the healing stuff, that is you, Niki. Like that is what you need to be doing. And then like everything else, like posting on social media is hard for you because you disconnect. You are not, when I
Mm-hmm.
text you, it can take days to hear back. And it's because you're really not on your phone. Like you really
Yeah.
are present in your life. So posting a
Yeah.
ton to social media is not aligned with you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're filming things about healing and it fills you up inside, it's like the way that this podcast is. Like a podcast can feel like work, or it
Mm-hmm.
can feel like we're just talking like we always do every Saturday and it's
Mm-hmm.
uplifting. So then when
Yeah.
you start working on things and it's about healing and it's uplifting, and then you know how to show up as yourself when it comes to talking about healing, and then you post and you show up rather than just like pictures of clothing and stuff. Your personality comes through, and that's what will attract people to you. So having like those big plans, like with healing, and even like, because for the planner thing, Melanie talked about doing 6 months because then you redo it in 6 months. And I'm super excited for that, to even go through it in 6 months and see how much we can change everything. But if you plan in the healing vibe and energy for 6 months, because you know if you want to do a retreat by 2025, then what do you have to do by then? Like you've got to get a following that's aligned with wanting to heal. You've got to have things that you're putting out there that make people want to learn from you. So if you think about like those things, like your ultimate goal is 2025 to do that. But this year, in the next 6 months, what can you do to set yourself up so that when you redo this in 6 months, you start really starting to like put stuff out there to make money? But you have to start
Mhm.
with like the free, easy things, posting, getting followers that align with that. Like those types of things is where your focus should be, like to get it started so that you can get to that place. And then it's easy to figure out what you want to plan. Then you have
Yes.
ideas because you're like, okay, if it's in the healing energy, then I want to do this and I want to do this, and you like figure all of it out, and then your calendar makes you excited when you put the sticky
Mhm.
notes on and you know what days you're going to work on, and it doesn't like you don't see one and be like, oh, I don't want to do that, because it's draining you, because even if nobody's watching you talk about healing, it's healing yourself. And
Mhm.
if one person watches, that means a lot too. That feels so good.
Yeah.
So it'll make everything else in your life easier, because then when you're doing things, it's because it's about healing stuff. It'll still feel like that goddess energy because it's making you happy.
Mhm.
Oh, that makes me so happy. It's exactly what you needed. I love that.
Love it. But that's weird, right? How that came up when like negative came up when I tried to lean into that. And it's like, can you be a healer? Are
Yeah,
you?
that's part of having to heal yourself. I think that a lot of that comes from doubt, and it's scary. And I felt a lot of that when I was posting, because I'm posting and I'm like, am I even what's the word? Like when you know enough to teach about it, like, or like I don't know what word I'm trying to think of, but I'm like, am I even worthy of trying to teach people this? Like, and then I was trying to
Mhm.
talk and I was trying to come up with things to talk about, and it like didn't feel good to me. And that's why I thought the podcast would be good, and why I've only been posting podcast content, really, because this feels good to me. And eventually,
Yeah.
I know that I'll have breakthroughs, and I'll want, because I have thought of a few things that I want to do on my own again. So I am going to start doing videos of my own again, but I needed something to make it feel good again and not be so much
Mhm.
about posting on social media. So my self-love workbook I did last February, the self-love month. So I'm going to do it again this year. So I'm republishing it and changing some things that I want to do. And then in February, I'm going to do the self-love challenge again. So I'll start making videos for that. That's as far as I've gotten.
Love it. I'm starting on a feel free um intuition journey to tap into my spiritual side, like I said, some more, because that has to be proceeding, obviously, to leading a retreat. And that starts tomorrow. It's a 25-day, spiritual journey. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's one of the next things. But I've got a lot of journeys, uh, retreats, meditation. There's a lot lined up that I've already invested in, for myself, so I can get more in tune. But then, right, that's where I was struggling is I'm not getting it in tune, and each
Mm-hmm.
day slipping by and I'm not creating. And so that was the challenge, but I'm happy to say I feel so aligned. I'm back in the energy, especially after talking to you. As always, you just
Yeah.
really give me a lot of the good higher vibrations. You give me good ideas, and things to work with going forward. But that's what we're here for, to use these tools to get through, to figure out, we're not always going to have the answer to our life every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's tapping in. You're not always going to feel magical, even though you are, but it's just getting back and
Yes.
recognizing what's a lie and what's not, what energy belongs to you and what doesn't, and kind of ridding yourself of that. And so I feel so good. I do think I am supposed to be a healer and can be a healer. When I was kind of talking to
Absolutely.
Jensen about it, he's like, babe, you healed me. Like, and that was one of the things that kind of really gave me a boost of inspiration. He's like, he just like welled up with emotion and he's like,
Aw.
you healed me so much. Like, and just went on and on. And I'm like, wow, okay, you know,
Yeah.
it is
And
within me,
you
you
definitely
know?
have healed me. We've healed each other. Like the way that
Yeah.
we make each other feel, the way you make me feel, the you can make everyone else feel that way. And I like, this is the right thing for you. I'm so excited. I'm so glad you did that business thing with Morgan, so you could really tap into what's right for you. Because I
Yeah.
think that that's what's held you back all this
Mm-hmm.
time, because you go through different ideas and they're all such good ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
they are things that mean a lot to you and that are good, but it's not who you are at your core. And this
Mm-hmm.
is, that is, and it'll help heal all of those wounds that you have talk
Yeah.
about them, work through them, and it'll help heal
Yeah.
you. And that's more important than anything else.
I think a part of that was just really no, gym head didn't feel aligned. It doesn't in my core. And I do have a lot of ideas. I have so many talents, but then I would get stuck in this like whirlwind, I guess, of where to go, because I do have a lot of talents and I do have a lot of interest. And a lot of times, if I put my mind, like if it's in the creative realm, I can do it. But honestly,
Mm-hmm.
really anything. That's how I did my life. It's like if I set my mind that I'm going to do that. That's why I had a gazillion jobs in my first era.
Yeah.
Like I can do that and would just be able to do all the things and create. And so, really, it's just like, okay, kind of bringing that back, right? And getting tapped in, again, because I know I can create. There's something in the religious world, in the Christian world, it's called speaking in tongues. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
You heard of speaking in tongues, girl?
Yeah. I don't know if I know
Okay.
it in the context that you're about to use it, but I mean, I went to church when I was little. I just haven't gone for a long time.
She taking it back.
Yeah.
I saw you reminiscing for a second and you're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's like to anyone who's maybe not familiar, it's you communicating directly with the Holy Spirit through you, through your body. For obviously believers. If you don't believe, it's not for you, but those that are faithful and believe. And so back when I used to really go to church heavily and be really just prayed up a lot and things like that, I got to experience that. And that's one of my truths that I hold on to. There's not a lot of people that can say they actually spoke in tongues. And it was a really faithful. I had to tap in. I've only done it once ever, right? It wasn't like a once you do it, now you can always do it or anything. But literally, Brittany, I was in church with my family, my kids, my husband at the time, praying. They were laying hands on me. I really wanted it. I was believing and asking and open to it. And something downloaded in me. I felt it. And suddenly I'm talking in language that I don't even know what the hell I was saying myself, right? But your spirit
Really?
knows. That's the thing. Yeah, because you're talking to the Holy Spirit, right? And so you don't understand spirit language with your human mind.
Mm-hmm.
Only your spirit understands it. And I'm talking. I literally was sitting there talking in tongues. It was another language and it would not stop. My mouth just started, like, it started a little bit slow. I could feel it kind of welling up. And I'm just like praising and hallelujah. And as I'm kind of speaking, because you got to speak, you can't not move your mouth, right? You got to do the things. And so I'm starting to speak and hallelujah and all the things and talking to God. And then it starts changing the language and changing the language. And then it's fast. It was a really like, my mouth was moving so fast and speaking, and I like felt it. It felt like, which they say, and it literally does. It felt like fire in my bones. Like I was like burning up, but not painful. You're just like hot. And it was crazy. And I was on the floor next thing, and I'm just like I can remember parts. Do I know what I was saying? No, but I know what it felt like. And I know I experienced the Holy Spirit that day. It came through me. I felt it. They say it's like fire shut up in your bones, and it really does feel like that. I'm just like, oh my gosh,
Oh.
like I'm cold, I'm burning up all at once. And it's mind blowing and it's amazing. And it felt so good. And so I'm a powerful girl, right? There's not a lot of people that can sit and actually say, with all honesty, that they got to experience something on that level
Mm-hmm.
spiritually, especially in a good way,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
so interesting, like how people have such different experiences of life because that happened to you, and it's like such a beautiful, powerful thing too. If that happened to me, I'd like check me into a hospital. Something's wrong with me.
But that's you
So
not wanting
funny.
it, so it probably
Yeah,
wouldn't then happen anyway, right?
yeah, exactly. That's so funny.
So, yeah, it's one of those
That's really
things. And
cool.
it's like, I really wanted it and was open, and it was beautiful. I
Yeah.
asked God for it. Speak to me, speak through me, spirit to spirit, right? And He did. God did.
Mm.
She, whatever the being is, right? Non-gender. Like he spoke through me. And so it was amazing. And I know the power, and I've had other moments like that in life. I don't have to dump them all today. They'll come out through our
Yeah.
episodes, but I've had miraculous moments that I can pin to. So if ever there's any doubt for me personally, it's like, but you literally witnessed some things through you. And so that's big. I do think I can heal people, and so I'm looking to
Yeah.
tap back into that, and part of that too was a trauma. I remember back when I was kind of getting into energies and working on the behalf of others. And one of my really good friends called me and she's like, girl, there's this guy I'm into, giving me this whole story, right? I ain't heard from him, da da da. I just love him. I'm heartbroken. I don't know. It's been like 2 months. I can't get a hold. Just all these things, right? And telling me all the issues and what she was hoping would be an outcome. And I interceded on her behalf. She's like, I just need to hear from him. Like, I just need to know and like connect and all the things, right?
Mhm.
And so I kind of put that out in the universe. And I promise you, within minutes of us hanging up on the phone, she's texting me back, like, he just called. Just like that. And I'm like, whoa. And she's like, sis, you literally like made this happen. I have not heard from him in months, no matter what I did, reach out, right? And then all of a sudden he calls right after we have our session. And then it starts to unfold, right? That wasn't the scary part. That was actually rather exciting. The scary part for me was like, should I have done that? Because it turned out he was like married and or like
Mm.
and so I'm like, are you the third woman? I didn't know, or the extra, not the third, the second
Yeah.
woman. How many women? Goodness. She was like the mistress. And so I felt some type of way about interceding.
Mm.
And that was one of the wounds that I think came back up as I looked into getting into healing and changing situations on others' behalf, right? Are you going to make the right decision, right? What if you
Yeah.
don't have all the details and so forth? And you kind of change something that wasn't in the best interest. Like, I don't want to go in and get it in her favor when she's the mistress and this is a married
Mhm.
man. Like, I don't want nothing to do with those vibrations,
Yeah.
right?
I think that
So,
you have very good intuition. I think that maybe don't go that deep with people until you've like built a relationship, you know a lot, and you have very good way of just like listening to people and understanding what they're going through and like reading their energy, and sometimes you're not going to get it right, but I think that there's a lot of people that their energy is very clearly off and you would very clearly know like you're not going to go to that place. And then some people maybe they just portray that, and but that's not up to you. That's up, you just feel the energy that you feel and you go as deep as you want to go. And one of my favorite things about you is the way that you genuinely care and listen. There are not a lot of friends, I know this because I've experienced it, that will let me go back to the same guy over and over for 5 years when it's clear within the first 3 months that I should be done, and support me through that and listen to it over and over and over, because to me it was everything. It was my entire emotions were wrapped up in that, and you understood that and you cared and you didn't tell me I was stupid. I would say something like this and this happened and you would say, how does that make you feel? And then I would tell you how it makes me feel, and then you would adjust what you're going to say based on what I say. If I say it makes me feel horrible, then you're going to say, then this isn't a situation you should be in. If I say it made me feel so good, I'm so excited, but in your mind you're like, you shouldn't be excited, that's stupid, Brittany. But you don't say that to me. You say your advice, but you're so supportive and you allowed me to go through my journey how I needed to go through it, and now I'm strong enough to be strong and not have to like hold on to someone for dear life and hope they don't leave me. And that's because you gave me grace and you allowed me to get through that. Most other people did not care. They did not listen to me talk about him anymore. Like it, I would just, when I would talk about him, I would see them tune out. And it was just like,
mm-hmm,
everybody's tired of this. I get it. I am tired of
mm-hmm.
it too, but I can't stop it. And so I
Yeah.
think that that's how you would be with other people, is talking to them and like even though they may not be ready to heal at the version that you could help them heal, you know what level they're ready for. And you can build on that and get better and better. And that is a real talent of yours.
Super helpful. Thank you. I appreciate all of that. It definitely resonates within me. And just remembering, like, I gotta believe in myself, right? And no, thank you for sharing that and taking me through that journey from your lens, because it helps me to
Mm-hmm.
remember, right? But that's part of who I want to be this year. I said I wanted to step into my power as Ariane Nakia, and that's going to be part of that. And maybe it's scary because it's big,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I just got to push past the fear and the doubts, and don't be afraid to fail. Like, you saying that, like, really was helpful, because it reminded me, like, even if I get it wrong and I don't catch the energy or something, like, okay, you can't hit them all, right? You can't bat a
Mm-hmm.
100 all the time. And so, yeah, that was
Yeah.
really helpful, is just leaning, because those have been my biggest hurdles: fear, you know, and
Yep.
disappointment, fear of disappointment. Um, that's, and I just shrink in that. As soon
Yeah.
as something starts to feel a little scary, you don't want to fail, you don't want to be disappointed in yourself, of all people, right? That's when I start to pull back, and it's learning to push through,
Mm-hmm.
push past those
And it's just,
boundaries.
it's a hard thing to figure out what's meant for you. The process of that, you go through one thing after another, and then all of a sudden the right thing just clicks, and it's just it. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's it for you. And I kind of went through a similar struggle in the last couple weeks because I decided I don't want to do coaching anymore. And that's like weird because that's exactly what I've been wanting
That's
to
new.
do.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's just that so I was very overwhelmed a couple weeks ago when my kids hadn't left for a long time, and the editing issue, like I had a really really hard week, and I was just like questioning myself, and I was like, I don't really want to have the energy of all these other people. I don't have the time. I'm doing too much. And it was just very overwhelming. And then my kids started, so they left last weekend, they're gone again this weekend, and I'm back to myself again. It's just that I didn't have any time to myself for a while, so I was getting really negative, and it's really hard for me when I don't have time to myself. Um,
Yes.
and so I started thinking about, like, I need to prioritize. Like, the podcast is important to me because it helps me grow, it helps me connect to you, it makes me really happy. That I don't want to lose. So I'm like, okay, so until I am done, like, with learning editing, and this is easier for me, I can't take on so much. But then I'm like, I've still got to try to focus on ways to make money, but there's no way I have the time to do coaching. I just don't. And so
Mhm.
until if I ever get to a place where I leave my job, then I would probably open one-on-one coaching. But until
Mhm.
that, when am I going to fit it? I'm
Mhm.
already doing, between my job and this, I don't want to call this work anymore because I think that changes the frequency of it in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not that I'm working 70, 80 hours a week. It's that I'm spending my time doing those things. So when you try to fit other things to block into a week, there's not a ton of time
Yeah.
because my kids are also a huge priority. And when I'm with my
Yeah.
kids, I'm with my kids. I don't do anything else. So I don't have anywhere to fit in coaching. So I had to I took my website off of all of my Linktree stuff. Like, you can't
Mhm.
even get to it anymore. I'm just not doing it. So then I'm like,
Okay.
okay, well, what feels aligned where I can still be working on my business, because just the podcast alone is not like all I want to do. I want to do things for myself. And so I decided to go back to focusing on the workbooks, because that I love to have things to write in. I love to have workbooks to fill out. And so I'm making them for myself, but then I have something to talk about and post that feels good.
Yes.
So I'm going to do that because that's just taking the time at night. I can work on workbooks with my kids when we're watching TV and stuff because I don't have to be super
Ooh.
focused. I can be in and out. And so that feels
Mhm.
aligned. I feel like I can make time for that. And
Yes.
then doing like a workshop type thing. I don't know how many of those I would do, but I feel like I should at least have one where it's like talk. I don't know what I'm going to do it on yet, but it's like really deep, talking about what changed, because I have changed a ton. And I think I
Mhm.
could help people change a lot and really get focused on what they want to do. So once I figure out what I want to talk about, I think I should just at least have one so that I have the possibility for income coming from that. I just want to have possibilities. I don't care if they make income. I just want, it's like planting seeds. Like, if I plant a seed here and I plant a seed here, I'm going to put my workbook that I already have done on TikTok Shop. TikTok will only get views now if it's a TikTok Shop video. If I post something with a link to TikTok Shop, I'll get thousands of views. If I post anything else, it's 200 views on everything. It's so annoying. One of my
Yeah.
annoying posts that I cannot stand. I literally am not even in it. There's a lip oil, and so I posted like I did a stitch with someone else talking about it and then being like, holy cow, they're selling out so much, I'm adding it to my cart. So it's like a screen recording of me adding that lip oil to my cart and then being like, I'm so excited to get it. It won't stop. It's at like probably 15,000 views. It keeps going and going and going. And I get freaking
Worth it.
likes on it every day. And I'm like, I want to stop seeing the likes on this video. It's been so long now. I don't want to see it anymore. But that's TikTok shop is the only thing that gains traction like that. So I'm just going to set up a TikTok shop just so that I can put my workbooks on it, because I don't like posting TikTok shop videos because it's like selling something, but it's not aligned with my business at all. It's literally just for visibility, because I figure
Mm-hmm.
at least if I'm posting those, it's getting to more people. If they click on my page, they're seeing everything else. Maybe the right people will still. So that's why I do it, but I don't like
Yeah.
it. So if I
Mm-hmm.
can just do my own TikTok shop, have it be my workbooks, and then I'm talking about those and I'm linking them so all of those are getting views, but it's me and who I am, and I'm just talking about like my challenge for that day, like the self-love challenge, then I feel
Mm-hmm.
good about using TikTok shop, getting the views, but not having to post about other people's products that I don't care about. So that's what I've decided in this
I
last
like
week, because I
that.
was struggling just like you. We just got to figure out what feels good.
Yes. That's what we were both kind of going through. It sounds like maybe a little bit different times, but yeah, what is feeling aligned? I don't care about anything, that I'm selling in Gym Head. I don't. Those products mean nothing, right? Because I'm a drop shipper. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have emotional connection. Like there's literally nothing behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it's just doing something. And then as I plan and get intentional with my days, I like how she said that becomes social. So that's going to get more aligned with me, right?
Yeah.
Because then I can just have maybe like my CEO day, and plan backwards from there. In order to have CEO day, or recording day might be one of the days. And in order to have recording day, I need the ideas, I need the
Mm-hmm.
things. And so I just think it's all going to kind of, as I sit down, and that's going to be my focus this weekend, is really getting into this calendar. Even before I go to day 8, I'm just going to get in and start planning and seeing what this feels like
Mm-hmm.
and looks like. I think it's going to make a big difference into what I can create.
Yeah.
I
I
can
think it'll
create,
make huge.
yeah, if anything, like gym head, it's not going to be gym head. If anything, it might go to Namacray or something,
Yeah.
but
I've always loved that name. I think you need to do it. I think it's very aligned. It matches you. That feels good. I think that's what
and
you
I'm
should
getting rid of
do.
all the products, and it'll be like products I create, if
Mm-hmm.
anything,
Oh,
not this drop
I love
shipping,
that. Yeah, because you're not connected. If you go through and look at your gym head page, there's that 1% you. It's all
Mm-mm.
just pulling from the web, like pictures and stuff. You don't come through, and you have to come through because you are magic, and you're
Yeah,
like making it so that you're not out there, and that's how you're going to be successful, is by showing yourself to the world, and that's what you need
yeah,
to do.
yes.
So
Jensen came up with an idea. I'm looking into it. I don't know how it's gonna look just yet, but he's like just talking. He's like, "There's what if you just talk to people that need to talk?" Which I kind of was a little bit doing a version of that. I only did one video on my real talk with Niki on TikTok where I was gonna maybe just kind of
oh
open
yeah.
things up. But he's like, what if you just had like a line or something? And maybe because part of what I was struggling with and what will be what I have to continue to figure out is I'm not connected to any generators, right? I think I was talking about that when it was me, you, and
Mm,
Morgan. And I'm like, I'm cut off right now, and that's what's hard, right? Is I'm cut off from the world. I'm not working. I'm in a new city where I don't really know anyone.
mm-hmm.
Outside of me, Jensen, and home, there's not a whole lot to juice up or generate. And as a projector, we thrive on amplifying others.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? And so that's what was kind of weird and hard. But this whole healing that I'm looking into and getting it planned and posting about it, maybe opening up some videos, I just think as I start to get in the depths of planning, thinking about a healing retreat. Maybe I can do a free mini retreat first, right? Like there's a lot of things that are going to start to come up first that I'm
Mm-hmm.
super excited for,
I'm so
you
excited for
know?
you. And I think that you have really good connections in your life to figure that out. Like our guest for next month, Monica. We haven't said anything about her yet, but she is starting to do retreats, couples retreats, and she's been on a million retreats with other people. She has tons of knowledge. I know her retreats are going to be amazing. I cannot wait to talk about that. But when we have her on, like you can talk about that with her and connect with her off the podcast. And like I know that she would be happy to help you and give you ideas. And like she's doing her first retreat this year, so she's gonna find out what's hard, what she ran into that she didn't think of. Sarah's done tons of retreats. Like ask them, like, what have you found that works, what didn't work. I've been on retreats. I have had experiences where I loved a lot about it, and I've had experiences where I didn't love some things about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I can also tell you, like, you have a lot of people in your life who can give like really valuable feedback of what works and what doesn't, so that when you do your first one, it goes off better than it even would just you, because you have pieces of other people that have learned from it. So you have a lot of people in your world that can help with that.
Love it. So during that homework that we did, and she's like, you got to kind of choose one thing to let go that's holding back your energy. Was it kind of the coaching for you? Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to get that or do that this year.
Mm-hmm.
That can kind
It
of
was
be something that
also, I felt a pressure to make it so that I'm getting the podcast out, because no one's going to see us and be helped by us if they're not seeing it. And so
yeah.
I was trying to do too much, and I need to just relax in my life and just post when I can. And if it takes longer for it to, because yeah, if I post a ton, it will be faster that we become successful. But am I going to be in the right energy to attract all of that? Probably not. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
I was doing way too much, and it was too hard. I was
Mm-hmm.
putting too much pressure on myself. So I let go of all of that, and I'm like, I need to create, like, manage my time of what feels good. Trying to figure out how to have time for coaching, impossible right now. It's gone. And
Yes.
trying to figure out like 3 times a day to post on TikTok and once a day on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, I do my personal page plus the podcast page. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages that I'm posting to every single day. And 2 of those pages
Mm-hmm.
are 3 times a day. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's a
That
lot.
is.
And I'm not
That is.
even talking. I'm not filming stuff. I'm literally just using the podcast clips because I can't physically do more right now. And
Yeah.
I know, like, you have to have different forms of content to reach different people in different ways. I'm not to the point where I
Mm-hmm.
can do that. I know how I could make it happen, but I don't have the time. So as I like get better at editing and things take less time, then I can start pulling in some of those times. So that's really what my focus has been, is like managing my time so that this feels good. Because if I see this as work every weekend, because we film on Saturday and then I'm editing the entire night on Saturday, all day on Sunday, and then I go to work again on
Mm-hmm.
Monday. So if I view this
Mm-hmm.
as work, I have no time to myself. I have no time to fill myself up. And it's not work. It's sitting and talking to
Mm-hmm.
my best friend. Editing is fun to me. I love it. I enjoy that. Plus, I just get to sit and watch us. And then as I see like something, oh, I want to change that, hurry and edit it, and then finish watching. And then I have to watch it again to make sure that everything worked correctly. So I just watch us a couple times so it really integrates. And as I watch us more often, I learn new things that I didn't think about while we were talking. And it's beautiful. So why would I think of that as work? It's so I've
Yes.
got to really change the energy around it. And so, and like posting on social media, I don't want that to feel like work either. I want to be like, ooh, I'm excited to share this with people. I have something to
Yes.
say about it. And that's the energy I need to post in. So that's why I've
Yes.
really backed off. And I don't care if it takes longer. If it's 2 years that we're doing this, and then, because literally podcasts, like, it's usually 2 years before it like really picks up, because you have to
Mm-hmm.
gain one person at a time, you know? And I'm not
Yeah.
going to try to force that and try to make it faster. So that's really the energy that I'm releasing, like that I decided to, is just like the pressure to do it all at once. I can't. So like the do
Yes.
less thing that you thought of, that's probably what the message I needed, because I'm doing too much.
Right, because you're doing way more than I am.
Oh, It's
That's
a
why I was
lot of
like, do
work.
less. What? I need to
Yeah.
do more. Why is
Yeah.
that message coming through?
But when you said do less, it made sense to me because I'm like, yeah, you're like trying to think of so many things, and it's like do one thing at a time. Figure out what feels good to you and do that thing and do it the best you
Yeah,
can. And then
yeah.
one more thing. Once you get that done, and then because that's what I did. I used to only do a tiny bit. Like years when I first
Mhm.
started watching Melanie, I was not doing very much at all, and
Mhm.
I had to do a tiny bit at a time, and then those things become easy. And so
Yeah,
now there's so many things that I've added that was my one thing at a time that now it's so easy for me that they don't feel like things, and so I have built on it, and now I'm doing so much, even though like you mentioned, like it's impressive as a projector that I'm doing so much, but it's because I built to this. It
yeah.
takes time and effort and constantly proving to yourself that you can do it, and then having it feel good because it's easy.
Your time Tetrising, like Melanie said.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So you haven't watched anything past day 7 yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
so I would watch day 8 even now, like while you're working, because it's about planning again. It's still the
Okay.
planner. It's like a little getting deeper, and then like she talks about
Mhm.
doing it different ways. So it's part
Okay.
of this. It's kind of like those two are one. So if you're
Okay.
really focused on the planning, I would watch that one
Okay.
because it has to do with that. And then when you're ready and done with that, then you can move on. I watched
Okay.
day 9 last night, girl. I'm disappointed that you haven't gotten there because it changed my life. I'm telling you, I think my entire life is about to change because of that. And
Ooh, what?
we'll talk about it next week. It's what you use the
Next
jar for.
week.
It's basically
Everybody
it's
gotta wait.
yeah, it's healing our relationship with money. And
Ooh, yes,
I
queen. I need to get
realized
to
what
that.
my block is, and I know like once you have that relationship with money, and it's so okay, we're gonna talk about it next week, but
Yeah, save it.
once you have that relationship with money, that's when you start attracting it. And so I feel it in my bones, like it gives me chills that once I start doing this, I truly believe I'm about to attract all the money. I'm gonna be like
Ooh, queen.
doing so good. I can't wait to talk about it next week. So
Next
yeah,
time, ladies and
that one was
gentlemen.
good. And I don't know how you are with money. I don't know so I don't know if it'll be as impactful for you. But
I
to
don't have a
me,
good relationship. I've been working on healing it. There's definitely
yeah,
blocks. So
I think it's gonna change you. I
that's what
feel,
I'm looking
and
forward to.
I've seen people talk about like in other programs, they're like, oh, is resolution where you do the jars, and people talk about these jars all the time, and I'm like, it must be good because everyone's always talking about how impactful it is, but I'm just like,
Hmm.
what are they talking about? And now that I
Oh, it's
know,
day 9, the jars.
mm-hmm,
I've been looking at them jars. I'm like, I still ain't seen nothing to do with these doggone jars yet.
and that's the best. That's definitely the best one. By far,
Ooh.
best call. It like I was like lit up on fire last night watching that. I was like, oh my gosh, this just changed my life. Like truly.
Ah.
I'm very excited to talk about that next week. And day 10 is a celebration call, so it's not as like it's not
Okay.
homework. It's just
Intense.
so you
Okay.
know like when you are in the vibe to watch those things.
That's
But
helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really happy
Good
that
luck.
I'm so excited about it. So next week we'll talk about the jars. It's amazing. Um I do you know what I love about us is that I asked one question. I asked how your week went. And that's the only thing. We haven't got into another topic other than just our natural conversation. And it has been an hour. And all we've
Wow.
done is how was your week? And
Wow.
this is why we're doing this because
Yeah.
that's so mind-blowing that we can ask that. Like we haven't even talked about any like we didn't plan really anything to talk about this week other than catching up on Melanie, and it's barely been about that. And it's just because like this is who we are, and I just love us so much.
Me too. I do got to say one more thing about my week before we start winding down because
Yeah.
it was so amazing. It's in alignment with everything we've been talking about. But I went to, they had a voodoo journey. You know, voodoo
Mm-hmm.
originated here in New Orleans and so forth, which actually came from the French. I told you I've been reading a book about voodoo and the history of it. And so I'm learning. And so in the book that I'm reading, a lot of the actual big, intense ceremonies would take place in what's called Congo Square, which is in Armstrong Park here. So there at Congo Square, they did a today's type voodoo ceremony rather. And me and Jensen went to that, and girl, I'll have to send you some pictures. You can put it
Yeah.
up, but it was so in tune, and you like dress all in white, to honor the spirits, and you take an offering
Ooh.
to the spirits. So we put together a nice little offering bag, and we got to put it under this grand tree, this like grand cypress that was just in the middle of Congo Square, that has got to be so old. Like it's probably been there, positively been there under the real, like original voodoo ceremonies. Same tree got
Mm-hmm.
to witness it, right? And so that was amazing. Loved it. Tapping into my spiritual side. Looking for anything like that to continue to come to me. I'm sure I'm going to find a lot of it here in New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans, but I got to go to a real live voodoo ceremony.
Yeah.
Whew.
Do you know what's the best part of that is that, oh, Nikki, I'm so excited that you're gonna try to do the healing stuff, because for you, going and doing those things is what makes you happy. And now that aligns with your work. Like now you can go and do things like that, and you're doing it and being like, this is something I get to talk about now. This is something I get to teach through what I learn. And so when you go and do those things, it is even more uplifting, because that's what you do for a living now. You go and you pull inspiration from all of these other things that fills you up, and then you get to share it with the world. And that is going to make you want to do it. I'm very excited about that. So for my week, I wanted to tell you. So the big thing that I want to talk about is like friendships, and when to protect your peace, and when to care about other people enough that they're worth,
Yeah,
you know. So I
yeah.
had an experience. So there's a friend who was my best friend growing up for my whole life, since I was 12 years old until just like maybe 4 years ago. And I decided to stop having her in my life. I have very good reasons to do that. It was the best decision I could have made. I've been at peace with that. I have not looked back once. I have not thought, what if I reached out to her? Like, she's in my past, and I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday, or not yesterday, I guess it was 2 or 3 days ago, she posted on Facebook a picture of her face just bleeding. And she said, I got hit again. Well, when will I learn? So she's getting beat up by her boyfriend.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I loved her my whole life. Even though she's done things that I can't have her in my life anymore, I love her. And she does
Yeah,
not, no one deserves that. But
yeah.
I know what she's been through in her life. I know what men have put her through. And it disgusts me that she's in that situation where she can't get out. So
Mm,
I really had an internal struggle of like, do I reach out to her and try to help her? Or do I protect my peace and stay away from that? Because that is not a situation I want anything to do with. But
yeah.
I was really torn. So I started just like reading the comments. There were a few people reaching out and saying, like, are you okay? Do you need help? So as long as people are offering their help, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on it, see if she responds, see what's going on. And then she
Yeah.
deletes the post. So I'm like,
Mm,
great. When people delete the post, that means he probably got into her head. He probably, she's not strong enough to have it posted anymore. So then I'm like, even more. It's just
yeah.
this big struggle. And
Yeah.
I decided that I cared more. If something happened to her and I never said anything, I would never forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to know the situation. I needed to know that she was okay. So I reached out to her, and it was hard. I stared at my phone for probably an hour. I'm like, this is a door that has been closed. Like, if I even like crack this open, do I want to go there? And I decided
Yeah.
her safety was worth it. So I sent her a message, and I was like, are you okay? Are you safe? I did not offer help. I did not offer to see her, but I knew that I could talk to her and see like what
Mm-hmm.
she says. So I guess that her dad had found out because she made it public, and her dad ended up calling the cops on him. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
he's already
Good.
on probation, and like she's still not. I can tell by what she's saying. Like, yeah, my dad got so mad he called the cops, and he's still on probation. And she's carrying that he's on probation. I was like, good. I'm glad that he did. And I just like, I told her, I said, obviously you are not in a good place mentally
Mm-hmm.
to allow yourself to get here. And I said, when I stopped talking to you before, this is why. I laid out the reasons to her, and it was like, it's one of those truth bombs that's like, this is going to be painful to hear. But the
Yeah.
way you were acting, the way you were behaving, I couldn't be around, and she read the message and she didn't respond that night, and I was fine with
Mm-hmm.
that because I was like, I can be honest and tell her that she needs to change her life, or I can not. Like, I'm not going to lose a friend no matter what because she's not my friend anymore. So
Yeah.
I was open with it. I told her that she needed to probably go live with her dad and change her life. Like, stop drinking, be sober, stop having men in your life that are going to treat you like crap, focus on
Yes.
yourself. And
Yes.
I guess she doesn't have a good relationship with her dad anymore. And she's like, my dad hates me. And I was like, he probably doesn't hate you. He's probably disappointed with the choices you've made, and he feels like he can't have you around. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so you need, sometimes we just have to burn it all to the ground, and we need
Yes.
to go back and fix our life. And your dad is
Yes.
probably the only person that can pull you out of where you're at right now. And you need to go
Yes.
grovel, and you need to tell him you're
Yes.
sorry, and you need to tell him you need help. Even if you don't go live with him, let him make rules for you. Let him like lead you to fixing your
Yeah.
life. So I
Yeah.
felt really good about that because it wasn't me saying, come into my world, be around my people, let me pull
Right.
you out of this. It was go to the person who can, and that's your father. And
Yes. Yes.
she didn't really say, so that's what she didn't respond to. And then the next day she did respond. She's like, well, I guess what they say, the truth hurts. Like, that was very eye-opening what you said to me. And she is just like, I don't want to live this life. You're right. I need to cut back on drinking. I need to stay out of this. And a million times I said, like, don't let him back in your life. Don't talk to him. I guess she already has a restraining order. She's going to court next week. So at least like that stuff is in place. But I'm scared for her safety. But
Mm.
so I thought, like, it was just a very emotionally draining thing, and it really had me think a lot about, like, when in your life is it okay to like constantly protect your peace, and when is it that you need to also be willing to help other people who aren't quite there yet.
I think that was a really good balance as I was kind of listening to the story unfold and picturing if that were me, I don't think I would have come to that same conclusion, in the interest of protecting my peace. And I love how you did it. I personally, as I'm listening, I'm like, I don't think I would have reached out. I don't think I would have opened that door. My beliefs, just to explain that, is more like protecting my own peace versus reaching out and risking that for someone who's not ready to help
Mm-hmm.
herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what I was kind of like, she doesn't sound ready to help herself. But I absolutely love how you did it, where it's in a way that it didn't compromise your boundaries, your peace, your world. Right. You
Mm-hmm.
got strict boundaries. You have closed that door, but you also did it in a loving and caring way that you could be aligned with. Like you said, am I okay? Totally not reaching out, and then something happens, right? And so you had that whole internal conversation and came up with something that was a beautiful fit, I
Yeah.
think. Yes, be honest, that does hurt, but it was beautiful in the way that you executed it. Maybe not hearing it, she probably doesn't view that necessarily, but you maintained your space, and your hard boundaries, but you still reached out and let her know you are loved. I believe it's in
Mm-hmm.
you, right? Here's your boost. Here's your loving wake up call, right? Here's all the things. I'm going to send you my energy. I'm going to send you some light, send you some really good advice. And hopefully, this sparks something within you that's still a glimmer of hope that you do want to help yourself, right? And so I love how you executed that. That's a hard thing to decide on,
Yeah.
boundaries with friends and peace.
It was hard. And I did think about like the she's obviously not ready to hear it. And but I that was the only time I was willing to say anything because I knew that she was in danger. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to drop all the bombs, and she might not be ready to hear it for 5 years, but maybe one day she's gonna think about
Yes.
that, and she's gonna read it, and she's gonna click for her. And I like
Yes.
planted that seed of like, this is what your life could be. Because I also explained a little bit of where my life is. I told her when I got divorced, I was in that place. I had to burn it all to the ground, start over. I was not a good person, and now my life
Hmm.
is perfect. I am so
Yes.
happy. And I said that to her, and I said, like, I have found men who will treat me like a freaking goddess and make me feel the way like I've been taught what love is supposed to feel like. And
Hmm.
she knows what my marriage was like. She knows that I was with this shit man. And
Hmm.
so I was like, I just want to tell you like the glimmer of hope at the end. And in my mind, I was like, this is all you're going to hear from me. So I'm just saying it all. And when she first messaged me after all I said was, are you okay? Are you safe? She was like, I've missed you so much. Like, went into like, and I didn't respond to that. I didn't say I missed her. I didn't say I love her. I didn't say I would love to see you. I
Good
won't see
job.
her. If she starts trying to talk to me, I won't respond. Like, it was really, there's enough in my past of why she's not in it. And the energy that she's clearly still living in is not something I want in my life. But
No.
my little 12-year-old girl best friend energy is like, I want you to be happy. I want you to
Yeah.
survive this. Pull yourself the heck out of it and live a happy life without me in it. And
Yes.
that's just, so I feel really good about doing that. I was terrified. But now that it's done, like, she read my last message, she hasn't responded. Like, it's not a continuing conversation. That door's closed again. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just grateful to know that the police have been called, that it's being worked through. Whatever happens from here is her decision of how she wants to move forward with her
Yes.
life. And I hope that she
Yes.
is okay. I hope nothing happens. I hope she stays strong and stays away. But I'm not going to know about it. I can only
Love
wish
it.
her the best.
Way to go. I really love that. Just, showcases your growth
Mm-hmm.
yourself because you planted the seed. That's the biggest part. Like you said, you reached out, planted a seed of love, right? Of a different future. If she wants to take charge and she wants to create that for herself, you put that in the back of her mind somewhere. I think I've talked about before, or maybe not, but I'm constantly, now that my mom's passed away, for some reason finding like things from her. Like I found a unopened card from her. I'm like, why didn't I ever
Wow.
open this? Where has this been? Like, so weird.
That's
And then I
cool.
opened it and it's like all this great information at just the right time that it seems like I need to hear it. So you don't know. Like my mom wrote that card at a different time that I guess that she thought I needed it. Apparently I didn't, or wasn't ready, wasn't aligned, right? Never even
Mm-hmm.
opened it, shoved it somewhere, and here, it surfaces, and she's gone, and it's right when I need it most, and like the exact words. And not only did it uplift me, I shared it with my son, hoping to just
Mm-hmm.
plant that seed. Maybe he'll read it now, maybe he'll read it in 5 years, right?
Yep.
But he's got it there the same way my mom planted that with me. So you've given her that, and that's a great gift, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. So, other than that, I mean, I had a crazy week. It was a lot. I'm glad it's weekend. Most of it I can't really talk about, but I just I feel really good. Like when I come into the weekend and my kids leave and I focus on myself, it's just so important. And I think about, like, if I ever have another kid, I don't know how would I be okay if, like, because now I'm divorced and my kids leave all the time, and that's what. So, like, if you have a kid, and I mean, hopefully, I would be with their dad forever. What do you do with that? Like, how do you find the time for yourself as much as I need it? I guess you just have
Mm-hmm.
to really have, like, I feel like if I was to get married again, I would have a day of just, like, for me. Like, on Saturdays is for me, on Sundays is for you, or a different day of the week or whatever, and like take the kid away for the day and let each other have their peace, because I think it's so important. I don't know how reasonable that is. I don't know. It freaks me out. I've been thinking about it. Like, if I did have one, would I be okay? And I don't know.
Time Matrix. I think you
Yeah,
would. You would
I
time
think I would
Matrix,
too.
right? Because we
Yeah,
did it already. Like, what about when you only had one kid versus when you had two? And when they
yeah.
were younger versus, when they're older? Like, there's different times, and you're like, how did I have the time to do all those things with two young
Mm-hmm.
kids? And.
The thing that I think is scary for me is that when my kids were young, I wasn't a good mom. Me and their
Mhm.
dad were yelling all the time at them, at each other. The house was a mess. I wasn't living a peaceful, happy life of how I am now. And I always thought it's
Mhm.
because life with little kids is hard and it's stressful. And I was thinking that, like, now my kids have grown up enough that, like, I don't yell ever. I don't have to. But I was actually thinking about this last night. I was listening to my nephews upstairs running around. They're 5 and 3, I believe, 2 or 3,
Mhm.
and they're just so loud and rambunctious. And I realized I've been here since August. I have never heard my brother yell at them.
Hmm.
And I was like, that was because of how toxic we were. That's not normal.
Yeah.
have a life and have like happiness with your kids even when they're little, but I didn't experience that. So it like scares me more, I think, because of that. The other thing is that like my brother does get like frustrated with like when they're like whining a lot, or when they're, or like, you know how kids like when they're two, they're talking all the time, but you don't know what they're, and you're just like, what do you want, because you can't understand exactly what they're saying. And I remember being frustrated about that with my own kids, because when you're raising them, it's constant, like you don't recognize, I guess, how special those times are until they grow up, and you're like, and you miss it. So I look at my nephews, and like my little nephew talking all the time, every word he says, I'm like, it's the cutest thing in the world. And I just love it so much. I feel like if I had a kid now, I would appreciate all of it so much more, because I've experienced what it's like when they grow up. And I want to like soak all of that in. And people tell you that, but until you've experienced it, you don't really know what that's like. And so I feel like I would be a completely different mom, and I think it would be such a cool experience. I don't know that I want one or will ever have one, but I think about it because I'm getting to the age where it'll be too late. And so I think about those things, and like if I end up with someone who really wants a kid, I'm probably going to have a kid. And I don't know. So I've been thinking about that, but it's crazy how your perspective of things changes as you grow up and learn.
It is. I wonder, like, I feel like in some aspects I'd be the better mom, but then, part of me is like, oof.
It's a lot, because we
Kids are
live in
so much
such
more
peace now.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like having my grown kids and they've been teenagers, like they're pretty independent as teenagers. So I've been in this freedom stage for quite a while, and just thinking about going back, 'cause sometimes I'm like, are me and Jensen gonna have a kid? You never know. What does the universe hold? So it's potentially in my cards, right? And then physically, sometimes I think about it, like when you're in your 20s, you got all the energy and bones and flexibility, and you can run around and do all the things. And now I'm like, I might try to get down and be like, you know.
Yeah, it's scary. I don't know how that would be, but I know that it would be beautiful. We would make it beautiful.
We would. I was reading the Bible this morning, actually, and it was about Abraham and Sarah, who God gave them a baby when they were 99 years old. And I'm just like, 99?
Me and God would have some beef. You did what?
Sarah did. It's saying, like, at first she laughed, and God got a little offended. Like, you laughing? I could make it happen. But at first she like laughed at the idea, like, you want to give me a kid at 99? So I guess I'm all right. If I have a kid before 99, I'm doing better than
Yeah. Do you know what else I was thinking is that so there's a couple things. When my kids turned, like, I feel like once they're like 10 or 11, like it gets so much easier. So if you think about like 18 more years, that sounds like a lot, but my kids are so easy now. They just do all their own stuff. Like they're so good. And I if I raise them right, I think that like it's really only 10 years of it being hard, and then and that's not that long. If you think about how fast time goes, like I've been at my job for 10 years, and I could do that. I like that like makes me feel like better about it, because then after that it's more like emotional raising them, not all physical. So I feel like that's reasonable. And the other thing is that a couple months ago, I was thinking about the fact that my kids are almost 18. Like they're getting there. And I think they'll live with me for a while after they turn 18. But after that, they're really on their own. I have to let them make their own choices, do their own things, all of that. And I started thinking about like, what am I going to do when my kids do leave and they have their own family?
all
And
that free time.
yeah, and I'm going to see them all the time, but it's up to them how much they see me. And like, yeah, I'll probably have a relationship, but I don't want my relationship to be like my entire life. And then I think about how young I really am. I'll be 40 next year, and I just think about how much time is left. Like 40 more years is like 80. That's like really a life, right? And you think about the last 40 years, I like that includes when I was a baby. Like, I don't even remember my life before like 10 years ago. Like, that is a long time left in life. A long time. So, what am I going to do for another 40 years? Like, I don't want to just be alone and doing whatever. I want to
Girl,
have like something that makes me feel good. And I feel like having another kid
it's
is
so
just another
freeing.
blessing. It is. I love.
It's
It
so
feels really
freeing.
good.
No. Once you're
But
there and you have those grown kids and it goes into that new thing, it's amazing because you do have the world open. You know, I mean, it might
mm-hmm.
be scary initially or whatever, but once you get into it and so forth, it's like, wow, I've got the whole world. You know, when my kids, this is my first time, you know, not working and doing it, but usually it's like, okay, I work, which is already a lot of hours. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have a couple of hours outside of work, you know, to kind of create things for yourself and just have so much more me time. You think you like me time now?
Yeah.
Girl, you're going to be like, oh
I
my
love
God,
it. When they
all this
leave for
me
like a
time.
couple weeks, it's like it's so peaceful. I know I'm going to love it when I get there. I have no doubt about that. It's just that that helps me be okay if I do end up having another kid, because another 10
Hmm.
years of having another human that I love as much as I love my kids, and then like I have them for the next 30 years or however long it is, that sounds worth it. And then I can like get into
Hmm.
that stage when I'm ready to be in that stage, because I am excited for it. It's not like that I'm scared to have that, so I want to have a kid so I don't get there. It's that that makes us like me feel okay about having another one if I do, because
Hmm.
it just it's 10 more years of hard, and then a whole lifetime, because then even 30 years left, that is a long time. So
Hmm.
I feel like I would be okay with it.
Yes. My card reading that I had here in New Orleans, down in Jackson Square, she said I was going to live to be 98. So, thinking with that perspective, which I try to often keep in mind, you know, is life is just beginning, you know,
Mm-hmm.
at 44. I'm getting ready to be 45 next month. And it's like it's really new. Like a lot of it feels old, but really it's all just new. Like you said, that was from birth. We don't even remember
Yeah.
clearly some of those years, right? Whereas here, we're already grown. Well, we're going to have full memory from 45 to 98 or however long, you know. And so it's like, man, there's a lot ahead. And that's what helps me stay
Yeah.
encouraged too when I'm like, oh, I didn't create, or this didn't go well, or that whole year was shit. I still, God willing, you know, have a lot
Yeah.
more healthy years to create and do the things, you know, ahead of me.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's crazy. It's so weird how when you're young you think 40 is so old, and I now we truly feel like our lives are just starting. We
Yep,
just get
it
to get
is.
it's so weird, but it's
It
exciting.
is. You're like 40
Yeah.
over the hill.
Yeah. But I feel so young. I feel like things are just getting good. That's
Me
cool.
too, especially as we do things with intent and continue to grow and use the tools. Like it's only going to be so much better. We didn't even have these tools our first 40,
Yeah.
right? Like so we didn't get these until later towards the latter end. And so thinking about it with that lens too, like, oh my gosh, it's been 45 years, but a lot of those I had none of the tools, at least 20,
Mhm.
you know, plus around there I had none of the tools. So
Yep.
going forward now, it's like, oh my gosh, I get to really make this into something, you
Yeah.
know, and get even more tools along
Yeah.
the way.
We get to create something beautiful. It's exciting.
What are you up to this weekend?
I'm gonna finish my vision board. I sent all the pictures over to get printed today. My
Ooh,
what's it called again? The other one, hindsight board is done. It's
hindsight.
right there. You see it? I'll post a picture on Instagram, or I'll just put it up on here actually. So that's exciting, but I got to do the vision board now. So
Yeah.
as soon as we're done, I'm going to pick up those pictures, get some food, and then I'm just gonna do my editing until later tonight. Then I'll do the vision board, and then tomorrow I've got to do my planning on my planner, do all the post-its and stuff, and edit. And that's
Okay.
it. I'm staying home. I am very much like January and February every year. I retreat. I'm not around people. I don't want to be around
Mm-hmm.
people. I feel like November and December just drain all of everything that I have, and I Monday or January and February are always about like myself. And
Yeah.
so that's where I'm at right now. I have no plans on my weekends. I don't want to have plans. I want to sit and do nothing, and I'm very happy about that. I actually, my
Yay.
friend, I'm gonna read what she said because la- after the New Year's, when I was mentioning I don't feel like the New Year, you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, she sent me this after she watched our podcast, and I want to read it because it was actually really cool. Oh, she called me. She didn't text me. So she went to sound bath, and the person was talking about how I wish I had the exact words, but basically how it is like a reset. Like you go through this phase in January and February where you're supposed to do that. How I am, I like kind of separate and I focus on myself, and I like re- rejuvenate myself. I don't know what the right word is, but and then by March, that's like when like the New Year energy, like being excited about things and getting out there and like doing all of that. So my friend that texted or called me, she said, so me being like not feeling the New Year, like getting keeping to myself for January and February, that's me being in tune with my body and what I
Mm-hmm.
feel, and because that's natural for people. So it made me feel like I'm like so in tune with myself because I didn't know that, and
Yes.
that's just how I am
Nice.
because that's what I feel like I need. So it made me like, I'm in tune with my body. I know what I need. I'm taking care of myself. I love that she called and told me that. It made me so happy.
Oh yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's cool. What are you doing
We
this
are
weekend?
going to a parade. So Mardi Gras obviously is getting ready to start.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the parades are kicking up. A lot of them are in our area. So the one tonight is this street right next to us, like the next street over, and that it's like our whole area. So
Wow.
we're going to that. Everything out here in New Orleans is like crew with a K, Krewe. And it's like the crew of this, the crew of that, right? And these crews put on parades, or they'll all get together or be in the big parades. So this one is the crew of Chewbacca,
Mm.
and they're putting on a big old, supposed to be like kind of creepy, kind of fantasy, I think is the theme. So looking forward to that. It's
That'll
gonna
be
be
fun.
cold. We
Yeah.
gotta bundle up.
Is
It's
it
gonna be
tomorrow or
super.
tonight?
That's tonight that we're doing
Fun.
that. And then my planner, getting into, I'll do day 8, really dig into my planners. Football's wrapping up, which me and Jensen are like, we can't wait till football's over. It gets to be so time consuming. Like, we
Yeah.
love it, and it's something we're both super passionate about. But by the end of the season, you are like, okay, this takes up, because at one point there was like 4 days out of the week that there's
Yeah. It's a
football.
lot.
It's like Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? 4 to 5 days. And so it gets to be a lot, and it's all day. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
today there's football. So I'm already getting ready. No, it's getting ready to start at 3. So I got that. I got homework. So I'm going to be
Mm.
Tetrising some of my time and prioritizing. Fortunately for me, I have the whole week to kind of do some of the things, but homework I got to do by Monday. I did part of it. I got a project that I still got to do. And then my planner, which may get diverted till tomorrow or Monday. We'll kind of see. But, that's the next few days for Saturday and Sunday is Chewbacca, football, football. Soon it'll be over and I'll have so much more time not
Yeah.
consumed in football.
It'll be so nice.
All right. Well, it's been super fun. We had a great chat today, a lot of eye opening, great moments. Hopefully, you had an experience with us. Join us next week. We're going to be talking about divorce. If you've been through divorce, you're pondering divorce, you just maybe newly divorced, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Tune in, listen to our perspectives on it, see what you can glean and gather. Thank you once again for tuning in to Manifest Her. That's Brittany Lee, and I am Nikki Dimitri. We'll see you soon.
Bye.